Welcome to WCS Talks Unplugged, where we bring you real stories, real solutions for the mind and the planet. This podcast is brought to you by Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability, a global community elevating women's leadership, accelerating climate solutions, and championing a more equitable, clean economy. Every episode, we sit down with the thinkers, builders, and innovators, redefining what climate leadership looks like and doing it with purpose and heart. So settle in, take a breath, and get ready for an honest, insightful conversation that just might spark your next idea, shift your perspective, or inspire your own climate journey. Let's get unplugged.
Hello, everyone. Sara Fuentes, founder and president of Smart Waste and the chairwoman of Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability. Today, I have the privilege of having Caroline Tiglao, co-founder of NEUUF, a new board member of Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability and chair of our marketing committee. I have the privilege of having a real heart-to-heart conversation, Caroline, so thank you for being here.
Yes, Sara, thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure to be able to share, connect with you, and connect with others as well.
So I had the opportunity during SF Climate Week to hear you pitch. Can you share with us a little bit about your background? What got you to where you're at right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have to go down back in time a long time ago. So it seems I'm actually a trained engineer, but has nothing to do with what I'm doing today. I used to learn everything that has to do with stress and strain, so a lot of numbers. I'm a number person, and it was structural engineering as a whole. But then way back, the industry of engineering, I was the only woman in the office that was not doing admin work. It was really tough, and I thought, no, I can't continue that. And I decided to go into service. So I specialize in customer experience, leadership, and management. I led thousands of people directly and indirectly across the globe. I come from France, but I actually moved to the UK. That's where my career started. And as I went on and I learned tons of things, I was always attracted to tech. And coming to the US, the last 3 years, the tech scene was so open, so vibrant, and the community being built around, especially California, was really active. And I started seeking a way to getting back into engineering. And that's when I met a co-founder and CEO, Nico, at NEUUF, and we started building this together. He's the inventor of the actual technology. We're doing non-invasive technology, clean tech, where we use electromagnetics and we power that energy, we harvest it, and we power batteries. So it was for me a dream that is at least 15 years old. And here I am living it and joining a community of women.
So did you say non-invasive? So I need you to backtrack a little bit because some of us might not understand what you mean about non-invasive technology and the problem that you're solving.
Absolutely. Thank you for stopping on that, because non-invasive is not something that we hear often. Usually
Yeah.
it's surgical, right? But let's look at it this way. We're talking about climate. We're talking about the planet, right? And everything that we do takes space. It means that we're going to sacrifice something. When we're non-invasive, we're not sacrificing anything. We're actually honoring what's existing. So that is non-invasive. You're still adding something on top of it, but you are not invading the environment. I look at it this way, sometimes to actually find a way to solve an issue, we create another one and again and again. So at NEUUF, what we're trying to do is being in harmony with the existing. What is existing that we can harvest and push it back into creating value. So that's why we do a non-invasive. And from our side, it's all about the architecture. The system and the modules we're building fits the current design. So the goal is not that you change anything about your habit, about the things that you like, the product that you create. It's about us adapting to you and yet powering your actual vehicle. We're in the mobility, but also we're solving a different thing. When we talk about more energy, we say bigger batteries, bigger everything. We need the space. And there's so much space in a vehicle. A car needs to remain what it is. Otherwise, It's going to create infrastructure changes again and again. As the car gets bigger, roads need to get bigger. Or if we need more electricity, we might actually plug from the grid even more with AI. The energy number one sucker, we would say, is AI nowadays. So are we going to continue building bigger, heavier? Maybe not. And those are alternatives by looking at things differently, by using things that already exist.
So I see that you had brought in a couple things around being an engineer and then some of the magnetic technology that is used. Can you tell me some of the key challenges that are being addressed with this technology?
Yeah, absolutely. Good news is I have bright minds that helps me with all the engineering stuff because we're dealing with polymagnets. Polymagnets are not magnets that you know with plus, minus, meaning like, the electrical field actually goes from one pole to another. This one has many poles and it behaves differently from a physics perspective.
Many poles, you said?
Yes, many. Absolutely. So usually on a magnet, you have one side is a positive and a negative one. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
This one, in one magnet, you could have like several sides that has like different properties of a negative, positive, which is the direction on which the energetical field goes. So it changes a lot. And for us, what we're trying to solve is the amount of energy that we can produce by harvesting the energy that is already wasted as heat. Every movement, we're talking about kinetic movement. So when you move, you create energy, and that is wasted as heat. And did you know that 40% actually of cars or vehicles in general would have that level of energy that is wasted already as basic? You drive your car, for example, that's it, you're wasting energy. How about we capture that? So the goal that we're trying to have is weight. We don't want it to be too heavy.
So you're like recycling energy somehow?
Yes, because the energy exists everywhere and exists through the voice, through everything that is around you. And especially when you're moving, kinetic energy is being produced at a higher level. Suspensions, for example, is where we are heading, is where the movement of a vehicle would actually have like that impact point. And we're harvesting that because there's nothing at the moment that is there. And we want to make sure that we are an additional layer and not just having the mindset of more, but more like converting the existing into value. That's the mindset of behind the things that we do and the architecture we're building of our modules as a whole.
So in terms of leadership, tell me a little bit about women leadership and some of the insights that you have around building and being a founder.
Absolutely. Leadership. While for me, leadership, everyone at every level have a level of leadership because they empower themselves and they would be expert in the field they are. From my perspective, being a founder is, first of all, very personal, where we as women, as human beings as a whole, we can move forward and go after our dreams. And the dreams are only being done if we step out of our comfort zone. Like for me, getting back into engineering, I'm there, oh my gosh, it's been years. I understand the engineering side, but I haven't practiced that. And yet, despite the fear, it's all about being brave. You fear it, you're scared, but you move forward. And yeah, being a founder, I'm a mom too. There's tons of things that needs to be done at the same time, but the power is within. And for me, when I do the work, it's not just doing the technical work because those are hard skills. Funny enough, I chose hardware as one of the products we're creating. But beyond that, it's really the soft skill, the who we are. And when it comes to leadership, it's all about inspiring others by experiencing our failures, our wins, and still move forward and share that wherever stage we're at. And the leadership is also for me around impact, because a lot of us, we want to do an impact. We just maybe don't find ourselves good enough. I've been through those kind of moments of doubts. But one thing that I know is when you find your communities, when you are true to yourself, and yes, sometimes you can say that was scary, then it's okay because other people will tell you the same thing. Yeah, it was scary for me too. And as I move on with communities, with people like you, wow, I want that kind of energy. How do I become close to that? And it's by exposing myself to moments like today, where I'm here like talking to you, I'm telling you like all the things that just pops through my mind that I feel is important to share.
Yeah, I think the framework is important around leadership. I think about just our objectives, and you said a couple things around impact. What does that mean? Like, I hear myself say it, I hear people say it, but then what does that really mean? And what does that look like? And as a founder, you're creating something that you want to have an impact on people. And that's one aspect. I understand an economy, there's another aspect. So what is that impact? That's the thing that I want to get to as well from the core, right?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Because today, when you look at impact, we have access to so much information. And we here, I feel, the impact is solving a problem. But with all the information that we have, everybody knows how to solve that problem. I mean, at least they can find the solution to it somewhere with the era of internet and even AI nowadays. But now with all those information that you get, even if you know how, you don't know how because you're submerged. So that's when expertise comes in. When one person is so expert in what they're doing, they're able to create the level of information to actually bring that impact, enable and empower others. To tie it back to leadership as well, it's really like the purpose of who we are. I remember when one of my mentorees actually leveled up and ended up having a role that they could not fathom. And they came back to me years later and say, I remember that a few years ago, you told me this, and here hence led to, of course, a lot of work from themselves to that. That one sentence was enough. And I knew, okay, that's why I want to tread some path. That's why I'm doing the things that I do. It's not just to impact through the product that I'm creating, but is also the impact that is personal to when you see people grow. Because once they grow, how many people are they going to impact? If I manage to help them, even a small part, leveling up a little bit, can you imagine what they earn by themselves later on?
So it's kind of like this ripple effect that you're kind of describing is the impact. I think also there's what you can declare to be the impact. I mean, at Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability, we have intentions and our advocacy around climate action in our communities, right? Gender parity, thought leadership, and practicing it outwardly. What got you to the point that you're willing to stake everything that you have, your reputation, to say, hey, I believe in this technology. I'm going to put myself out there and fail forward and risk it all.
Yeah, well, I'm willing to risk it all because I'm comfortable with saying I was super wrong. I need to learn.
Wow.
I am so comfortable in saying, wow, you were right. I got tons to learn. Even today, we had some meetings and you were there asking other people to learn new things too. So with that perspective, I'm willing to be wrong. And guess what? When I come in, I am maybe already wrong. I have some knowledge. I'm going to double check with others. Then what's there to be scared of? What are you putting at stake? If not, you're earning so much more learning about who you are and you get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's going to happen after that? Okay, I was wrong. Then I need to do something else. But at least I did not deceive myself and I did not deceive others. But people would say, she tried her best. Oh, she effed up. But it's okay. She still showed up. The comeback is important.
Yeah, I like that because when people do make mistakes, there's one or two ways that you can handle it, right? Right. You can either run from it and deny it, or you can own it and learn from it.
If you are listening to WCS Talks Unplugged, you are already a part of the conversation. Now it's time to be a part of the community. Join Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability and connect with a global network of women and allies building climate solutions together. Become a member at womeninCleantechSustainability.org.
You know, and some of the solutions that are working right now in transportation, harnessing energy. Tell me a little bit about that. Like what's that look like for you?
Well, in our space, with electrification, there's billions of dollars on the line where we all know that regulation, we are going to electrify. It's not something that is new. It is happening as we speak. Now, how do we do it? And the idea from my side is to do it in a clean and human way, because obviously there's opportunities in everything that we build. And this transformation that we're going through, which is like the era of AI, needing more grid, needing more infrastructure. EV electrify everything, which is fantastic, is moving us forward. But is it sustainable? Sustainable meaning, are we going to continue doing those heavy things, or can we look at a different space? And that's where we are at the moment, where everyone is trying to do the same thing differently. For us, from my side, I look at opportunities that exist, a blue ocean within the existing. Hence, we look at suspensions from our side. We don't make the suspensions, but we want to be a layer. We empower suspensions suppliers. So we have, at the moment, no regeneration within the suspension level of any kind of vehicle on the market. We can find it. But regeneration exists in many different ways, many different technologies that doesn't fit in that very area that we chose to be, which is where the kinetic movement is.
Really?
Right? It's not being a competition, but being a layer of enabling others, being a layer of regeneration for what already exists. So we hand in hand with any of our regeneration that exists already. I give you one, regenerative braking. Has nothing to do with what we do, but it's a regenerative.
Plus, it's a concept that people are already familiar with, but just in a different way in the vehicle, which makes a natural sense because of how you described it. And even in cultural cars in California, there is a high population of lowriders, and there's a lot of cars.
Absolutely. And funny about this is I am well into the car culture.
Tell me more.
I used to drift cars when I was in the UK. I lived in London for ages. Like an old, like a manual one. I tuned it up. And, when I look at this, funny
We
enough,
got to do
that
this.
very hobby of mine of like drifting, being in those racetrack, which is performance.
Yes.
It's like a translation of me wanting to be a high performer. Like a lot of professionals, we're high performers. But high performers, which is speed as well, we need precision. So, when you drift, it's like art. So now you're combining techniques and art. And when we do technology, I feel like I want to embed that kind of mindset into it, where I usually compare our technology to art, because sometimes what it looks like makes it different. It's one of those weird things.
Especially with cars and car heads, because they want to look under the hood. They really are inspecting. They really are observing. They really are looking at the newest technology and the newest spec.
Yeah. And one thing I discovered in America, people drive a lot. One thing that shook me is LA to San Francisco is the equivalent of me going from north of France to south of France. It's a whole country for me. And here's just a state. So they're like, OMG. And through that, now look at how I see it when it comes to the technology that we're doing is you gamify the road. There's a time I was telling my friends, hey, when I drive, I see a pothole. I am scared. I want to stay away from that. But imagine that pothole is going to charge my car. I might as well drive onto it and then create more vibration and get more because I know that the power is the one that I will not get from my home when I charge my car. It's one of those things that I thought, yeah, I'm going to go crazy and hopefully the wheel's going to be okay.
So I just want to make sure that we connect the dots here then, because you just made a really good example that the technology from the suspension could, in theory, generate electric vehicle to hold more energy. In theory, similar how regenerative braking or the other type of technology in EV vehicles.
It is absolutely different in a sense that at the moment, what we have is really event-based. For example, you're braking, it's an event. It will charge your car at a very specific event. And there is continuous. You don't even need to actually put your car on. Let's say you're loading your car. Kids go in and jump in. Those movements equal power that push back into the battery. So although there's a lot of things that we think of in terms of range anxiety for adoption, it doesn't change the fact that people are still adopting. Now, how do we have the very same thing and make it normal? When you have a gas car, you don't think, you just know that, oh, when it's lower, I charge. Here, I want people to think, oh, when I come home, I don't need to charge as much. But when you're charging your car for a normal commute, then already when you get home, you don't need to charge as much, meaning you're saving on your electric bill, but not just that. So the impact is also on save those buying power to do something else.
So how can listeners support, whether it's a business or individual, and what are some future things that you're looking to do with your technology?
I feel people are already supportive because we already know we want to go into a cleaner space. That is the first thing. So that awareness is already giving us a direction. Now, from our side, we are directly working with tier one suppliers.
What's tier one supplier?
So let's say you have the retail's brand, any kind of brand for any kind of vehicle, whether motorbike, bikes, e-bikes, or cars or trucks. Those are, we call them OEMs. Then they sell it out. They manufacture the cars, the vehicles as such. But they need to source parts. And those are tier one supplier, which is direct before the manufacturer. And we are tier two. So we supply the tier one. And we work with them, we partner with them to do our testing, our pilots, so that this technology is being available for the public as part of what they buy. Because nowadays, there's no manufacturer that want to give less. They want to give more. They already want to solution them. Now we just need to think of different technology that fits securely and doesn't add cost at some point, because the cost is always pushed to consumer.
Are these types of projects that you're currently piloting right now?
Yes, we are piloting especially from the micro mobility, which is e-bikes and e-motorbikes, and with fleet. Because if we go to the extreme, in between it's going to work out. But those are extreme to see how much power we can get, because infrastructure is really small, a module that is really small. So one of them fit in my hands and you wouldn't see it. And the other one would be bigger for trucks. And for trucks is where the most impact is.
So how much more power does it give?
It really depends. That's a good point. Based on our simulations that are third-party validated, for a truck is about 1.6 kilowatt. Okay, that's numbers, but it means that it's the equivalent of an average US home being powered for a whole day.
So for charge time, right? Because people think about charge time. What does that translate to?
On this one, it depends, because the physics, again, changes a lot of things. When you drive, you use energy. You're depleting energy. We're charging. So now you either replace so you don't deplete as much, or you do a plus, the surplus. Because, there's a difference between you driving as an Uber driver or a DoorDash guy compared to you cruising around. If you're cruising around,
Yeah, for sure.
those are different things, different environment, different roads.
Yeah.
So, there's so much happening in there. But the beauty of it is that the road is the game. The road is where the power is. And you just need to know that as you drive, as you ride, you do whatever you do, there's nothing you need to change. You just pay less for charging, period. And that is the goal here. It doesn't change the way it looks. You love your product, don't change it. You don't want your bike to be bulky. You don't want that. So at some point, it's all about non-invasive. Again, non-invasive. You don't see it's there. We don't want to be visible, so that the product that you like, it just has that extra thing. We're invisible behind it that you wouldn't have in terms of energy.
Well, I know that you recently took on a leadership role. So I'm just curious to know, how has our organization impacted you?
I have one word for that. It might sound weird, but it is hug.
Hug?
Hug. Because a hug really strong, you squeeze the person and but it feels so good. And when I gathered with all of you guys, it was, first of all, extremely welcoming, and welcoming in a way that is so open. That day I showed up by myself, and we sometimes get a little bit of anxiety, even if we used to get into a room that we'd never been to. That was my first gathering. And
that was at the fashion show?
Yes. There was nobody that left me alone. There's always something happening to help us engage, so that we don't feel awkward. The awkward moment you're alone. You don't know anyone yet, so you're there like, what do I do? No, I didn't have to face that, and I saw intention, purpose, and as I got more involved, I saw the dedication of each volunteer that I have met so far, whether it was on an event or even virtual. And it was fantastic to see just how much love, because, there's a lot of passion in the things that people do. People just bring their skill in for the sake of helping others, nothing else but just being present. And that is the biggest currency we can get ever. We're rich with that level of currency. Seriously.
Yeah, we are.
And because that's the power of community, is beyond everything that we do it for people. the smaller the family, then our friends, then our entourage, then our community, then the country, then the world, and then, okay, you want to go further? Galaxies. So
Yeah, you took it there. Well, I appreciate that because you're telling me that we can go to the galaxy and beyond. So I want you to tell everybody how they can get in contact with you.
Absolutely. I can be found on several platforms. Just type Caroline Tiglao. Funny enough, there's only one of me out there, or maybe another one that I haven't found yet. So I'm easily found on LinkedIn. Otherwise, to contact anything that has to do with ventures, please go to NEUUF, NEUUF.com.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, Caroline. And thank you for sharing about your technology and helping explaining it. Thank you for being here today with us.
Thank you so much.
That's it for today's episode of WCS Talks Unplugged, where we share real stories, real solutions for the mind and the planet. A huge thank you to our guest for joining us and for the work she is doing to move the clean economy forward. And thank you for listening, for showing up with curiosity, hope, and a desire to make a difference. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone in your network who cares about climate, justice, innovation, or building a more sustainable world. This podcast is brought to you by Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability, a global community supporting the next generation of climate leaders. To learn more, become a member, or get involved, visit womenincleantechsustainability.org. Until next time, this is WCS Talks Unplugged. Stay inspired, stay engaged, and as always, stay unplugged.